Hi there, and welcome to this quick guide on using OpenStreetMap. OpenStreetMap is a open source project which you could really call like the Wikipedia of maps, really. Basically, what we have is a crowdsourced map of pretty much the entire world. Um, and this map is really used in by a lot of like people who are GIS professionals or also work with GIS on the side as part of their work in like urban planning or disaster and risk management. So what is so important about OpenStreetMap is A, the fact that it is open source, so everyone can use this, um, and B, the fact that it's actually like used. That's it. A, the fact it can be used, and B, the fact that it is used. Because and why is that so important? Because you may not even really realize how important it is to even have this map. Because this map really forms the basis of a lot of urban planning projects, really, because say a certain area is not mapped out, um, there's simply not really any possibilities for actually doing some sort of urban planning there. So there's not really anything that can be managed there. So as soon as you have no map, if you don't have any sort of data on the locations of a certain area, it is going to be pretty hard to make some sort of disaster response plan. It's just impossible, really. And moreover, it's just pretty hard to do some sort of urban planning there, uh, or to even navigate the routes there. So that's what's so important about OpenStreetMap. This is simply by contributing to this map, by contributing to the OpenStreetMap, you actually pretty much contribute to the safety of people and to, well, the health of the overall environment. Because now, with this map, urban planners and disaster planners, transit planners, even like transportation planners, they all can actually use this data to plan better, make better decisions. So, very important map. And the great thing is that you can contribute, everyone can contribute, and you can also export data yourself from the OpenStreetMap and use this data in another GIS system like QGIS. So that's what we'll be covering today. First, let's just see how we can navigate through OpenStreetMap. If you go to openstreetmap.org, I actually just created an account, but what you have to do is simply just fill out your email address, choose a display name, and then create a password, and you'll receive a confirmation email. You click the link in that email. It takes like a minute before it gets into your mailbox. I just experienced. From there, you can immediately create an account, and then you should have access to the OpenStreetMap. Well, you don't even need an account to have access to OpenStreetMap, but then you should be having access to being able to like edit the map. So, how do we do this, or how do we navigate the OpenStreetMap? Well, if you just use your mouse, you can drag and slide and drop and move around and zoom in and zoom out. You can also use these buttons right here. Moreover, you have a bunch of layers that you can choose from. So right here we have the standard OpenStreetMap, which is probably what you see as soon as you open it. You can use the humanitarian version. You can use the trace tag topo, transport map. We have a cycle map. We have another cycle OpenStreetMap and the standard OpenStreetMap. And right here we have a bunch of checkboxes. We have map nodes. So these are basically like uh, possible edits that need to be made to the map that people put notes on the map for. So right here it's like somebody showed or added onto the map. There's been recent renovations here, so we need to check if these are up to date. I mean, you don't really have to immediately make any changes or immediately do something about a renovation in your area, for example, but you can also just leave the comment so that you can get back to it later or have somebody else do that for you. So these are all the nodes in pretty much my area, my region that I live in. I can comment on them as well, like interact with those people that left the node. And from here we have a bunch of more options. If I zoom in even more, I can also click map data and I should be seeing even more data. I see there's been a lot of streets that shouldn't be here, to be fair. I don't really know what that is about. They also displayed one zoom level. Well, here you see the big problem of the fact that it is an OpenStreetMap and open source as well. I mean, I'm a big advocate for having an open source OpenStreetMap, don't get me wrong. But here you see the problem. There's people who can just put a bunch of streets anywhere. Anyway, so just ignore those weird lines right there because those are not actually there. Okay, we can just use this map layer. Weird. Anyways, what we have right here is a bunch of blue lines, which are like actual data. I believe these are some nodes and areas. Oh, I see my laptop is lagging a bit because of all of this data, so I'll actually put it off again if it allows me to. Otherwise, I can just. Okay, right. Uh, these are overlays for troubleshooting the map. So I am not entirely sure what the map data is used for. I believe it's kind of like a template so that people can then start mapping out things using that template because they now have like some overlay. Not entirely sure to be fair. And we have public GPS traces as well that we can display. So if I use this, it's probably more accurate. So yeah, that's kind of what you can use. Let me put the nodes and the GPS traces off again. What we can do from here is we can also share the map. So right here we get a URL with a coordinate, a layer, uh, like this layer is T. I can also say layer is H, and then I'll get the humanitarian base map pretty much. I have coordinates right here, and I have a zoom level right here. So if I copy this exact link, I should be opening the map at the exact same location, as you can see. And if I were to like edit this to H, I will see the other base map. If I was to edit this, I will see another zoom level. And if I were to edit this, it will probably slide a bit to the left or to the north actually. So we have the X and Y coordinates right here. So that's how you pretty much can create a link that you can share with a colleague and he'll see the exact same location. You can even include a marker, as you can see. So now you can go even more specific. Say I was to like try to share this exact location, I could do it this way. See, the map is being a bit slow right now, so I won't zoom in too much. So yeah, that's what you can use the link for. You can also use HTML, so you can actually embed it into your website, for example. If you want to just show like one location, you can just include a marker and say, okay, this is our office building. Include this onto your website. Great to know. And you can create a short link, which is pretty much the same thing as this link, but it doesn't include like the actual coordinate and everything. So this is just a shorter link. Here I can add nodes to the map. So as you saw those nodes right here, I can actually add one of my own. Be aware that these nodes are public. So if I now click one of these nodes that somebody else left, or I leave my own, I see the exact thing that they put in here. Uh, especially if you have your full display name like myself as your OpenStreetMap name, and if you were to like make an edit right in front of your house or something, just be aware that this is a public node that pretty much everyone can see. So, and it will also be used to update the map. So, do not use your own personal information or contact details or your own address. Like, be sure to like not indicate all of that data. But you can include those nodes to yeah, let other mappers know that they can pretty much change something there or fix the OpenStreetMap. So as you can see right here, somebody left a comment on something that needs to be edited right here. So that's what the nodes are for. Um, Now, if you want to export features from your map uh, into, for example, OpenStreetMap, you can zoom into somewhere, click this button right here, and or sorry, this is not for exporting, that's what these buttons are for, sorry. What I meant to say is these is to query features. So if I were to now zoom into this church, click this feature right here, it's going to start searching for all of those features. And basically what OpenStreetMap does is there is nodes, there is lines, and there is polygons. So we have city boundaries, suburb boundary, quarter boundaries, pretty much neighborhood boundaries, a retail area. This is the retail area, basically a street, a bunch of streets combined really. And this is technically like an area because it's a polygon, place of worship. So basically this is the church in my hometown. And you immediately get a little more data on some tags and denomination and the registration ID, religion, source, and how up to date it is as well. And this is the construction year. So that's a bit of data that you get from there. You can even open the Wikipedia page right here. And here we have a bunch of nodes, which are basically like the corners of this building or of this polygon really. In this case, we have 159. If I were to now click one, it will show me that corner, for example. And now if I were to click another, I would get this corner, this corner, this corner, this corner, this corner. And there's 159 on them, of them in this polygon. So that's something that you can do. You can download the XML to get this exact point, and you will then get a .osm file with a .osm extension, and you can upload that into like your QGIS project. But better to do right now is to export, and what you can do right here is you have a bunch of boundaries as you see. These are just the boundaries of the extent of the map that you're currently looking at. So if I zoom out, they change. If I zoom in, they change. I can also manually select an area. Say this is the area that I want to look at. Boom. From there, I can export that. And as I just said for that one corner that you could export, you can also do with an entire building, with an entire street, with an entire way. So you have ways, areas, and nodes. So like points, lines, and polygons, basically. And you can export those as .osm files, but you can also export this entire area, basically, or like this entire square, and pretty much export all of the features within that square. And I will also get a .osm file that I can then upload into QGIS. Or I can make use of an API, and there's some more options that I do not know all of the details of, to be fair, but there's multiple ways that you can do this. Anyways, if you want to export your data, you can pretty much do this. And right now I have a .osm file of this area, which I should then be able to upload into QGIS. And this is the first time that I do this, to be fair, so I hope it works indeed. I now have the option to pretty much add these as separate layers because they're lines, polygons, and points, and other relations as well. So let's say I select all of them right now, and I add all of them. Right here I have all of the data. I see my projection is still incorrect. 3857 is the one that I should be looking at. And here I will add my OpenStreetMap as a base layer as well. So right now you see exactly what I just exported. And what it does, that's good to know as well. As you see, it didn't cut off the exact polygons within the square that I selected, but it also like extrapolated all of the data that is part of the features within my square. So there is points and lines and polygons that were not in the square I initially selected, but these are part of points, lines, and polygons that were within the square that I initially selected. So as you can see, this, for example, this very long line right here, or very long square polygon thingy right here, is basically part of a river. So that will obviously be a larger polygon. So if I click this right now, you see this is a pretty big feature. So it just gives you back the entire feature rather than cutting it off or anything. So it's good to know. Anyways, now I have this data and I immediately display it into a map. So yeah, that's good to know as well. I believe you can even like query it. So right now I just selected everything in that polygon. So like all of the features that I selected, I got back as expected. But I believe it is possible to like, for example, export all of the benches or all of the cafes only. And that way you can actually create pretty valuable geodata because now you have all of the benches in your city, for example, uh, and now you know exactly how many it are and how far they are separated from each other, or maybe you see like, oh, there's a lot of benches here, no benches here, whatever it may be, but now you have some sort of data that you can use to actually make decisions or send to other people, send to your public services department, so that they know navigate more easily, or you have just the geodata in your map in general so that you can perform analysis. There's a lot of things you can do with the data, but regardless of anything, now you know how to actually export the data from OpenStreetMap. Um, if I were to do it with some sort of filter, I believe I would have to do it uh, with the API or one of these other methods. However, what I also can do is use filters in QGIS. You can check one of my other videos or modules on filtering in QGIS. Um, I see it's still in Dutch actually, my QGIS, so sorry if you cannot really read anything, but you can actually filter out all of the things that you don't want to see in QGIS. So, oh, right here we have the filters. So I could say like, I want to filter on just this address or whether or not it is a highway, whether or not it is man-made or not. Whatever it may be, there's a lot of things you can do right here. You may have to check some more of the OpenStreetMap documentation or just leave a comment if you have a particular question that you cannot solve by yourself. Anyways, now you know how to export data, and one more thing that I want to show you, because after all, this is an open source project that we are all working on voluntarily together. You can edit things, so you can actually edit the OpenStreetMap yourself. So right now it's putting me in the ID OpenStreetMap editor, and within this editor I can start editing data, start improving the map. As you can see, it uses a satellite image so that I can actually start yeah, pretty much documenting and mapping out where roads, buildings, and nodes or like locations are. I would show you the entirety of this, but really you can just start the walkthrough or edit now. But I feel like the walkthrough will probably be far better at explaining all of this than I ever could. So I think you would be better off just using the walkthrough. But now you know that it is actually possible to pretty much make edits uh, in your OpenStreetMap in your city or maybe in a city that you're familiar with so that you can actually contribute something to the community really. As you can see, there is a lot of steps that you need to take before you actually understand how this works. But yeah, I'll leave this to OpenStreetMap themselves to explain this to you if this is something that you are willing to do. What you also can do, one more thing, is actually like display routes. And you can also slide this point throughout the map so that you can actually like calculate distances, calculate parts of distances, and this is from a German routing service, I believe. That's what this data or calculations come from. So you can make sure to read this as well if you want to actually use that data or use that routing server. But this is a way where you can actually quickly get a gauge of pretty much the distances that you would need to cover if you were to go from A to B. And you can also change from car to foot to bicycle and quickly have an overview of distances and everything. So I hope that is valuable to you as well. Something else that you can do is edit with remote control. I'll leave that to the documentation to explain to you as well because I just don't know enough about this. Edit what ID is what we just covered, what we just went over, but which I left to the OpenStreetMap walkthrough. And here's a bunch of links that you can also use for like help, an about page about OpenStreetMap. So I told you it's a basically just a map that is kind of like crowdsourced, community-driven, open source. Uh, that's really all you have to know about it, but here you can read a little bit more about who's involved in it and privacy policy and everything. Communities, there's a bunch of OpenStreetMap communities as well in a bunch of countries, so maybe there's some nice contacts that you can get from here. User diaries, basically, this is kind of like a blog of people and how they used OpenStreetMap, I believe, which is pretty fun as well. There's people kind of like sharing what they have been doing on OpenStreetMap, as well as new features and edits in the software are posted on here. Kind of like a blog, I would say. GPS traces, I am not entirely sure. I believe new GPS traces are uploaded here. Um, I'm not too familiar with this, so you can look at this if you are familiar with GPS, and you'll probably figure out what this is about. Um, all I know is these are GPS traces that people upload that you can then view or edit in the map. So really that is all that I have to say about the OpenStreetMap website really, and how you can edit, how you can navigate it, how you can export data. I hope this has had any value to you. If that is the case, make sure to check the school community below. I created a school community which is like a GIS study group kind of, basically a community where a bunch of people learn about GIS together, geoinformation systems, if you're not familiar with the term, basically mapping software, uh, of which OpenStreetMap is one, of which QGIS is one, of which even Google Maps is one, and there's plenty more of geoinformation systems and geoinformation science. So if that is something that you would like to learn more about, make sure to check out that community. It's completely free at the moment. I'll put a link down below in the description. And if you have had any more questions about OpenStreetMap or about QGIS, make sure to leave them in the comments or in the community as well.